Hello, 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 and welcome into the post-Christmas edition of the Believe in Lions podcast. That's BLEAV. I wish I could say it's another victory edition, but we're still going to spice it up with the Christmas edition. And of course, I am joined, as always, by the All-Pro Safety for the Detroit Lions, the man who probably has the best defensive hands that have ever graced the Detroit Lions football team. All-Pro Safety, Glover Quin.
Yes, and I like how you throw that in there. Best hands. But man,
Had
Merry
to.
Christmas, Merry Christmas, man. What is up?
Just it was a very very merry Christmas. I got tons of Lions stuff, as you can see if you're watching on the YouTube channel. If you're not, go check it out. But very merry Christmas. Loved spending time with the family. That was all well and good and beautiful. But Christmas Eve was a little bit heartbreaking. How about you, Glover? How was your Christmas break?
Yeah, man, Christmas was phenomenal. I hosted Christmas, so I had my whole family out. We had a lot of fun, but kind of the
Skate
same thing.
party, didn't you?
Oh my gosh, man, those kids were skating around the house the whole day yesterday. On Christmas. Um, so it was a blast, man. We had a great time, but kind of like what you said, Christmas Eve was kind of like and I was, gearing up for we had a big Christmas Eve thing at my house. And so the Lions kind of put me in that weird position because I'm sitting down watching the game, but I got stuff that I need to be getting done around the house, preparing for the Christmas Eve, program or, thing that we had going on that night. And I found myself just like, I mean, the Lions decided not to show up, so why should I have to just sit here and watch them not show up? They don't want to show up, then I'm not going to show up. I'm going to go get some stuff done. So then I find myself getting up, going to pick stuff up, clean up, do this, do that. And then I look back at it and it's like, yeah, I knew that it was going to be bad from the first possession of the game. So they didn't show up. They just
They
didn't.
they didn't. Not in the slightest. They got run all over 200 yards rushing in the first half, 320 yards on the day, 164 and a touchdown from Dante Foreman. That's 7.9 yards per carry. 125 yards from Chuba Hubbard. He was 10.4 yards per carry. They were just gashing them off tackle, up the middle, over and over and over. And it was just, like you said, not, they didn't show up. They just straight up didn't show up.
No. And, somebody was asking me, on, on like Twitter, hey, can you come back, man? We need you at safety. And I'm sitting here like, bro, you should be asking Ndamukong Suh to come back because you needed somebody on the D line. Like, by the time, I think I may have told you this because I think you mentioned like Deshaun Elliott being out. I'm like, bro, those guys are breaking right up the middle by the time. Like, you could have had Troy Polamalu at safety. He's already got 10, 12 yards by the time he get to the safety. You know what I'm saying? It was like
Yeah.
they were getting blocked completely out of the gaps. Nobody from the D line was trying to get off and make a play. I don't know if the linebackers were even on the field. That's what it looked like. I've never seen so many times the ball carrier run directly up the middle of the defense and don't even get touched until he get to the safety. Like, they played like they were cold. They played uninspired. They did not play like a team that had playoff aspirations and playoffs on their mind. They played like a team that was cold and had Christmas on their mind. And they were just trying to go through the motions and felt like they would just get a win. This is the NFL. You will not just get a win. You have to go out each and every week and earn your victory. And they did not do that. That's why they didn't get a win.
Football is back, and Bet Online remains your number one source for all your football betting needs this season. You'll find the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all sports wagering info, Bet Online features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports and events like MLB, MMA, tennis, hockey, boxing, and even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts. And you called it, not that they were going to lose, not that it was going to be this bad, but you did say that the Lions might overlook the Panthers. You put it 24-21. It was a little bit higher scoring than that, but still. Does this happen often where you just look ahead to the future?
I mean, yeah, it does, especially with a younger team that's been playing well. A younger team that's been playing well a lot of times, like I was saying, a lot of times, and I tell my son this all the time, no one gets tired of winning. People get tired of losing, but no one get tired of winning. People get tired of doing what it takes to win. And that's why I was saying this week is a busy week. It's a Christmas week. You got all types of stuff going on. You got this, that, Christmas, practices. You're going to be home because you're planning on Christmas Eve. So now you're planning home stuff and you got this stuff. Like, it's just a lot going on. And you got to play a football game. So that extra studying that you generally do at home, probably didn't get to do it this week because you had to do stuff around the house because it's Christmas. You spend a little more time at the store, or you trying to do this because you got to buy some gifts. That extra time that you were spending in the locker room or in the weight room or in the film room at the building, you're not doing it because it's Christmas and it's fun around the building and it's a lot going on. It's a lot of little things that, especially when you have a young team, a lot of those little things fall in the cracks when you get late in the season, especially when you have a lot of stuff going on. This right here is a tough stretch because you got Christmas and then you backdoor it with New Year's. Just a lot. And these two games are very important, and you have to be able to continue to do what you've been doing to win. Otherwise, you have performances like Saturday.
And that's really what it felt like watching, was just no push, no intensity, just lackadaisical, just, I don't know, no desire. And every time they were either completely untouched, or if you did get a hand on them, it's just, oh, this arm's out here, arm tackle, run right through it. Just, it really just felt like a sleeper game. They just fell asleep. They were asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, it did. And like I said, I didn't see any fire from anybody anywhere. I didn't see it. Like you say, they had a little spark, right? First quarter, they get a little spark. They go down there and score, and you kind of like, okay, that was one drive. We couldn't stop the run, but we went back and scored. We'll be able to right the ship, and then they come right back the next drive, and it's just gash right up the middle. First play of the drive, just shoot 25 yards. What in the world? And so when you get to a point where you can't stop the run, then now you can't stop anything, because now you're trying to blitz people to get extra run help, and they just throwing the ball to the slots and they catching screens on you. And then they doing whatever they literally doing whatever they want to do with you now because you can't stop the run.
And DJ Moore, he only had 6 targets on the day because they really didn't need to throw it a whole lot. Caught 5 for 83 yards and a touchdown. And that's the kind of day we've been used to Amon-Ra St. Brown having, where it'd be, yeah, we're against the Giants, 70 plus yards and a touchdown. It's fine. But this game, on the opposite end of what we saw, it hurt. It really did.
Yeah, it hurt all the way around. And I felt bad for them because, they done a really great job of working it back into a position to give themselves a chance. And, sometimes you run out of gas. That happens. But I just felt bad because I'm like, this game right here was the one game that, could have hurt them. And it did. They still got a chance, and I don't want to sit here and go through all the scenarios of this and that. At the end of the day, you got to win out, and you got to hope for some help. That's what it boils down to in a nutshell. So none of that stuff matters if you don't win out. So they gotta regroup, they gotta refocus, and they gotta beat Chicago. That's the only thing that matters. You gotta beat Chicago, and then let week 17 or week 18 take care of itself.
And you mentioned that this sometimes teams will run out of steam. Do you think this Lions team has run out of steam, or do you think that, hey, we regroup, we wake up, we get back to work against Chicago Bears this week, we take it more seriously because it's New Year's anyways. We're not going out the night before, so we don't have anything to prepare for that. So could that work in the Lions' favor and they close out the season strong?
It could. It could. I'm not going to say that it can't, but they got to regroup. It's going to take the leaders on the team, going to take the veterans, going to take the coaches to regroup. These, 18-week schedule is a long schedule. And guys get tired, man. Guys get tired. Like I say, it's hard to continue to do the same things week in and week out for 18 weeks. That's a lot. That is a lot. And so they got to find it, though. They got to find something deep inside that will help them regroup. Because like I said, you can look back at week 1 through whatever. You can look back at the last week of the season. None of that matters if you don't beat Chicago on Sunday. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Nobody will talk about really the positive of your season. They'll talk about how you dug yourself in a deep hole. This is what it is. And it'll be like that regardless, unless you make the playoffs. If you make the playoffs, then they'll talk about how you dug out of that hole. If you get close, they're going to only talk about how you dug yourself into a deep hole and you just didn't have enough to get out of it. So that's what you're faced with right now. Nobody cares about how you started as long as you win. You win, it's gonna be good. You don't win this week, they're not gonna talk about the 5-6 game winning streak you went on. It's gonna be the hole that you dug yourself into. So they got to regroup. They got to find it. I believe they can. This is the Believe in the Lions podcast. So I believe in the Lions. But they got to get it done.
They do. They do. There's nothing else that matters at this point for the Lions. If they don't beat Chicago, I don't know if their season will officially be over, but it practically is. It is.
You don't beat Chicago, it's over.
Yeah.
Because you're not, because at this point, the Giants got 7 wins, right?
Giants got 8.
The Giants got 8. The Commanders got what, 7?
7-1.
Right. So at this point, if you don't win, you're not going to get in at 7-7. At 7 wins, not going to get you in. You finish 7-9, you're not going to get in over a 7-8-1 Commanders team. You're not going to get, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to get in over a 7-win Seattle team. Seattle has a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So the only way you can get in is you're going to have to get the 9 and hope that Seattle and the Commanders don't get to 9. And that means the Commanders got to win out, right?
Yep.
And it means Seattle kind of got to win out.
Yep.
And this was probably going to happen. All 3 of these teams are probably going to win on Sunday. And then the NFL is going to flex the Lions, but it probably won't be the night game. Only way they'll flex it to the night game is if Green Bay has a chance to get in if they beat the Lions. If that's a possibility, then they'll flex it to the night game. Otherwise, I think they'll make all 3 of those teams play at all 3 of those games will be played at 4:25.
Not to give anyone the advantage. Is that kind of why they do it?
Yep. Everybody's playing at the same time. Playing at the same time. Because if you play, say you play the Commanders first and they win, well, now Seattle know they can't make the playoffs and the Lions know they can't make the playoffs. So it is what it is, right? So you're gonna play them all at the same time because you don't know. So you're watching the scoreboard, and it's the fans for it's the same way for the fans because you're watching your team hoping that they win, but you're also watching the scoreboard hoping that they lose, and you're trying to keep track of all three of those games. So I think unless it's you know unless Seattle loses or Commanders loses this week to where and the Lions win, the Packers win, and now we're in a situation where if the Lions or the Packers win on that Sunday, then they could be in the playoffs. Then they'll get flexed probably to the night game. Otherwise, I think they'll all play at like 4:25. The
Have you
second
ever
game.
have you ever been a part of one of those games where you're scoreboard watching other games because it matters to your standing in the playoffs? Are you tired of having to play fantasy sports across multiple platforms? Well, now you can play fantasy sports the way you want, all in one place with Rival Fantasy. RivalFantasy.com is the only fantasy sports platform with 3 unique game styles. Number one, we've got challenges where you create your own head-to-heads, like DeAndre Swift will outscore Jamal Williams, and then other players will feel free to challenge you directly. We also have number 2, the fantasy book, the traditional over-unders that we all know and love. And number 3, we've got fantasy bingo that you can play only at rivalfantasy.com. Our friends at playerprofiler.com have a special offer for you with Rival Fantasy. Sign up today with rivalfantasy.com and use promo code PLAYER, and you will activate your 100% first play insurance so you can play worry free. That's rivalfantasy.com for a 100% loss protection up to $50 on your first deposit with promo code PLAYER, courtesy of playerprofiler.com.
Not during that I can think of, not during the game because the 2 times I went to the playoffs in Houston, we won a division, so didn't really matter.
Yeah.
And then my first year, we had worked our way back to 9-7, and we had won our game, but the game that mattered to us had got flexed to the night game. Cincinnati and the Jets back when Ocho Cinco and Darrell Reeves was kind of going at it. That
Still
game
going
got
at it to this day, by the way.
bro.
Yeah, they were going at it on Instagram the other day.
Oh wow. Yeah. See that game, they flexed that Jets and Bengals game until the night game. So we had already won our game. So we was able to sit at home and watch it. And then all the games, like I said, when I was in Detroit, the 2 years we went to the playoffs, we had already clinched the playoff spot in 2014 when we played Chicago. I mean, we played Green Bay. We was playing Green Bay for the championship of the division. And then in 2016, I think it was around Christmas time or one of those games. And I think the Redskins, well, I think they're the Redskins at the time. They lost to somebody or they beat somebody on like that Saturday night. And the conclusion of that game, the way whoever won or lost, I can't remember, but that gave us a playoff berth. So then when we played Chicago that next day, the last game of the season, or was it the last game of the season? Yeah, it was the last game of the season. We had already clinched a playoff spot. So didn't really have to scoreboard watch then either. Other times it didn't really matter.
It's fortunate that the times you got in, you didn't have to. But the years you didn't get in and it didn't matter, I'm sure you wish you could have been doing a little bit of scoreboard watching those days too.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's, I think it's good and fun kind of how the NFL does it, you know what I'm saying, to flex those games to where everybody's playing at the same time or, the way you're playing it all matters. I think they do a good job of doing that. So, and it's always fun when your game gets flexed because it just adds unless you get flexed from like a primetime spot to like a 12 o'clock game, and then you're also happy about that too, right? If you know you don't have a spot in the playoffs and you got a 4 o'clock game on a Sunday the last week, flex me to 12 o'clock, man. Let's go and get this thing over with so we can go home. You know what I'm saying? Don't flex me till later when my season is already over. But when you get flexed from a 12 o'clock to a 4 o'clock or the prime time game, because like it's kind of cool. It's
It
kind of
is.
cool.
And you always see those kind of videos too of players. If say, I think it was the Steelers a couple years ago, their game finished before the Ravens finished, and they stayed on the field watching. And I believe the Ravens ended up losing that game. And so the players stayed on the field watching together to see their playoff berth. But I'm sure it goes the other way too. It's really going to be a wild finish in this NFC wildcard picture because this week there's no easy games per se. The Seahawks are up against the Jets. They're going to have Mike White back, though. Zach Wilson has been benched for the second time.
He's done.
He's done. You think he's done in New York?
Yeah, he's done. He's probably done. I mean, he gonna have to be like he's gonna have to be like a coach that like got fired. He gonna have to go take like a backup job at some. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Go somewhere and just be a backup and just kind of fall out of the public eye for a year or so, and then maybe reemerge. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I
Kind
don't
of.
think any one team in the league right now will be like, okay, he wasn't good in New York. He'll be good for us. No, I don't think any one team would be like that. But there may be somebody out there that will feel like he got the potential to be a backup for us. Now it would just boil down to, is his mental capacity a backup type? Because I don't know his background, but seems like he could be a spoiled, you know, adult. Put it like that. And
Very classy.
if that's the case, he may not have the personality or the want to be a backup. You know, he may be uninterested in that role. So who knows? But he's definitely done in New York.
That's what I was leaning towards as well. It seems that when the New York fan base is just so loud, and when you've completely lost them and you're getting booed every possession, I don't see how you come back from that. So the Jets will have Mike White against the Seahawks. That one becomes an interesting game. Commanders versus the Browns. We're rooting for Cleveland in this one, I guess, and we're also got Giants versus the Colts. So they've also benched Matt Ryan again. We're going to see Nick Foles as QB1.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough on the Lions because I think the Giants should beat the Colts.
Yeah.
And get to 9. But that means the Giants are gonna have to play the Eagles, I think, in week 18.
Yep.
The Eagles, you know, I think they're gonna be in that situation where if Jalen Hurts can't play this week, I think they're gonna have to play him next week. Because I don't know if they want to go into the playoffs, second round of the playoffs, and Jalen Hurts hadn't played football in a month.
Yeah.
You know, because if he was out last week, be out this week, out last week of the season, then the first round bye, it'd be a month. So he's either going to have to play this week and they feel good about it, or if he's healthy enough, he's going to have to play that last week. And so that could help the Lions out. If the Giants can go and beat, if the Eagles can beat, the Giants, but the Giants are already at 8 wins. And so if they beat,
Colts.
the Colts and get to 9, well, then that's going to put the Lions, because the Lions can't jump a 9-win Giants team because of that tie. They don't have that loss. So then you're just hoping that the Browns beat the Commanders, and then you get a chance to get to 9 over them, or then Cowboys beat the Commanders in week, but for the Cowboys, what will they have to play for really? Because if they can't clinch, if they can't win a division, they're already done sold up the 5th spot in the wild card. It won't be a team that can get higher than them, so they may not have anything to play for in the last game. So
So we've got to hope that the Eagles lose this week. That way the Cowboys have something to play for. Eagles have something to play for to beat the Giants. Oh, I don't like relying on the Cowboys and an Eagles loss here, Glover.
That's what you do when you don't show up prepared, man. You take things out of your control and you leave it up to other people to help you out when you could have just won and not worried about all these other games. Now we have to talk about that stuff.
Yeah. This is the difference between controlling your own destiny and having to get some help around the league. But to control their destiny the best way they can by winning, how do they get back on track? Because it wasn't just the defense that wasn't physical. There was absolutely no push from the run game. Goff, yeah, he throws for 355 yards and 3 TDs, but a lot of that felt kind of just padded on almost. No run game to speak of. 12 yards for Swift, 11 for Jamal Williams, 3.0 yards per carry. And the defense, as we've talked about, soft.
Hey,
So
it
what do
was
we
just
do?
cold out there, man. I'm gonna chalk that up. It was cold and it was Christmas Eve. That's what I'm gonna chalk it up as. I don't think that's their identity. I just think that they were young, they were cold, and it was Christmas Eve. They did look somewhat unprepared for the Panthers offense and their defense. Um, but like I say, it was the holidays, man. So I'm gonna chalk it up to that. Now let them come out this week and be the same way. Then now we're gonna have more things to talk about. But as for now, I'm gonna chalk it up to it was cold, Christmas Eve. They just didn't get it done. But they get an extra day this week. They play on Saturday. Now they come back and play on Sunday. So they get an extra day of rest, recovery. I expect them to be a lot better.
Young team, some rest. And this was the coldest game in the history of the Carolina Panthers. They have never had a colder game at that stadium. So let's hope that that's all it was. And we can regroup against Chicago, a franchise that, let's be honest, Glover, the Detroit Lions own Chicago.
Yeah, we own Chicago. I mean, I have no worry or doubt about that. We own Chicago. So
we'll
let's
take
go
care of
win it.
business. But what? Oh, final story. There is one final story that I wanted to ask you about. Not for the Lions. It's actually for the Denver Broncos. I don't know if you saw this. They did fire their head coach, Nathaniel Hackett. He becomes the 7th, I think, head coach fired before the end of their first season. And obviously the last one was Urban Meyer.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm not all for firing coaches like that, but at the end of the day, Denver has been awful. Who do you blame? I mean, the coach is gonna take the blame, but like the players play the game, I get that. But I just haven't really seen anything from him on the sidelines and the news, anything that makes you feel like he connects with his players and his players want to play for him. And he's created a great environment of football and fun and all these different things. I just never saw it. Not saying he hasn't done it. I just haven't saw it. And that's what it looks like on the field when you watch those guys play. It just looks blah. And Russell hasn't played well this year. It is what it is. But they just very, 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 very underachieved. The AFC West was supposed to be one of the toughest divisions this year with the Raiders, with the Broncos, with the Chiefs, with the Chargers, and the Raiders and the Chargers. I mean, the Raiders and the Broncos just did not hold up their end of the bargain. I think the Chargers have struggled some. Still tough team. Chiefs have obviously been the Chiefs, but the Raiders and the Broncos, man, I don't know. So they got him.
Unfortunately, someone's got to be a scapegoat in the NFL every year. It happens no matter what. Someone's got to be a scapegoat for the Broncos. It had to be Nathaniel Hackett because they're tied to Russell Wilson. They can't get rid of him until 2025-ish. He's there for sure next year. 2024, it is very expensive to get rid of him. Whereas with the Raiders, Josh McDaniels, he is very expensive to get rid of. He is very expensive to fire. So you know what they're going to do? They're going to ship Derek Carr out of there, and he's going to be the one that they blame.
Yep. That's how it is. So, I mean, Derek Carr may need a new start. It'd probably make Devontae Adams everything is so crazy, man. It's just, Devontae left and he went to Vegas. I'm sure Vegas is a lot better and funner and whatever than Green Bay, but hey, man, you won in Green Bay. You were always in the talks as top wide receiver in Green Bay because you were putting up numbers with A-Rod. Now you're still good. Everybody knows you as a good player, but you're not winning. You're not in prime time like you were. You're not putting up the same numbers per se with Aaron or with David or with Derek, whatever, Derek Carr. Like, so it's just different. And then you make that move for your career, and then all of a sudden that quarterback gets shipped off, and now you're just sitting there like, oh heck, who are they gonna bring in now? It's just not a good situation.
And it's the wildness of the NFL. There's going to be so many coaching moves throughout this offseason. There's going to be quarterback moves. I was counting. There could be 9+ teams that have a new quarterback to start next year. Just movement every year. It's a business. I get it. But it's nice to be a fan of a Detroit Lions team that really starting to come together as stable at the very least. I know there's a long way to go, don't get me wrong, but the stability feels nice when you're looking around the rest of the league.
Oh yeah. The Lions are in a good spot. They are in a good spot. I think, when you look at their team going into next year, I don't know of any big time guys that they're gonna spend a lot of money on like with guys that's already on the team.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to pay Jared at some point or make a decision on him. But I think Amon's got a year or two.
Yep.
DeAndre Swift has a year or two. Obviously Jameson just got drafted. DJ Chark just signed.
He's a free agent, but it sounds like he wants to be back. He was on that 1-year deal.
He's on the 1 year.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be tough because, his role, depending on what it is with Josh Reynolds, what he got. But then you adding Jameson Williams. So if DJ Chark was just your deep ball guy, Jameson Williams is going to fill that role for you. So then they may not feel like they have to re-sign DJ Chark if he's want to ask for more money, because he's had a decent year.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. It always gets so interesting when you start looking at these moves, these potential things that could happen. Trying to keep the team together as much as possible, but you're trying to upgrade the team. You're trying to stay under the salary cap. You're trying to do everything that you can, and it's tough, man. So that's why the GMs and the coaches and the personnel people, that's why they get paid the big bucks. It'd be interesting to see. But at this point, they got to finish the season the right way. If they finish the season the right way, it'll be good for a lot of people. If they don't finish the season the right way, then they're gonna have to make some moves to try to get better. And that may mean letting some guys go. That may mean not re-signing some guys. Those things will have to happen if they don't finish the season the right way.
Winning talks in the NFL, winning talks louder than just about anything else. Glover, any final thoughts on this game that the Lions unfortunately didn't win, or anything else going around the NFL, or just your own pluggables to plug?
Well, I just thought the Lions didn't show up, and they just didn't show up. They didn't stop the run. And when you can't stop the run in the NFL, you can't win games. It's just very difficult. So I'm going to chalk it up and hope that all the Lions had a Merry Christmas. I know that probably made your Christmas is a little bitter, but hopefully they can start us off with a great new year and go out and beat the Chicago Bears and give us something to root for and something to look forward to going into week 18 of the NFL season. So continue to enjoy the holidays, continue to enjoy your families, and go Lions.
Go Lions. I hope everyone out there had a Merry Christmas. If you're looking for, I don't know, a late Christmas present or a New Year's present, maybe you go in and you get a jersey framed by GQ Framing. You can find that over on Instagram. Saw some of the work you did. That was just phenomenal.
Oh man, I got a lot of stuff I got to be posting, man, because I did a lot of work in December,
You
but
did.
I couldn't post a lot of it because they're Christmas presents. So now that Christmas is over with, now I can post some of those things because going into 2023, I'm gonna be going full fledged. Full fledged. I kind of dabbled in it a little bit to kind of see how things could be and how much I liked it, and I love it. So 2023, I'm gonna be full fledged, going to the next level.
I
So it should be
cannot
fun.
I cannot wait to see what the next level is for your already what's the word I'm looking for? Not dominant because that's a football term, but your amazing work that you're putting forward. So I'm excited to follow that.
I appreciate it, man. It should be good. It should be some good stuff.
It's going to be a
So
great
yeah, all your Christmas pictures that you guys been posting, Christmas whatever that you got, hit me up. Let's get it framed. Let's make it look good.
Let's get it framed. Let's make it look good. Let's start 2023 off on a good note with a win over the Chicago Bears. And if you want to bet the Lions to win that game, make sure you place that bet with our friends over at betonline.ag. But until then, I will see you next time.
Peace.